If you follow me on Instagram, you already know about the new tool I have in the shop. I'm pretty excited about it. Let's get over to the bench and check it out. So I've been using this DeWalt sander for many years now, and it's done a pretty good job, but my hands aren't as young as they once were, and the vibration that this sander produces has really started to bother me over the last several months. Add that to the fact that the Velcro on the sanding pad is starting to wear out, and it really got me thinking about buying a new orbital sander. Now I'm making 8 of these funny charcuterie boards for a customer. Now what I'm going to do is paint all the carved area black, fill that with epoxy, and then sand it all down smooth so there's a nice flat surface to serve food on. And like I said, I'm making 8 of these, so that's a lot of epoxy I need to sand. I also built my daughter a desk a few weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around to doing the drawer faces. So these need to be sanded up also. And you know, when you do woodwork, there's just always sanding to do. So I thought this would be a great time to pick up that new sander, and here it is. So when I went shopping for a new sander, there were 2 things I was really focused on. One was I wanted really low vibration, and the other was I wanted really good dust collection. And that search just led me to the 3 obvious choices you've probably seen a million times here on YouTube. And that was Festool, Mirka, and the new sander by 3M. Now of those 3 sanders, the only one I had experience with was the Festool, and that was just via an in-store demo. So I had to rely on a few articles I read, some other comparison videos, and reviews that people had written about all 3 tools. Now as I was doing my research, I came to the conclusion that the Mirka and the 3M extract sander were very similar. In fact, some of the reviewers I saw went so far as to say that 3M basically ripped off Mirka in their design. So in my eyes, those 2 sanders were pretty much the same thing, but the Mirka is a couple $100 more than the 3M. So just based on price, I took Mirka off the list. So that left me a decision between Festool and 3M. Now I had used the Festool before and I knew I liked it, and unfortunately there was nowhere I could go and demo the 3M sander. So I started looking at the features and design of each and really nitpicking each sander to see which one I wanted. So the battle of the sanders was on, and since I have this one in my hand, you know which one won, but let me quickly tell you why. The first thing I looked at was, how does the sander feel in my hand? Now I know what you're saying. Hey guy, you just said you never held a 3M sander. And you're right, I haven't. But this feels so good in my hand, with the shape and size of the handle, the lightweight, the finish on it's very comfortable. I can't imagine the 3M, even if it's a better feeling sander, I can't imagine it feeling so much better than this that it would make a difference. The next thing I looked at were the controls on each sander, namely the power switch and the speed control. Now the 3M sander has a power switch on top that turns power on and off to the sander, and then it has a paddle switch that you depress with your hand while you're sanding. So the power can be on to the sander, but it's not going to do anything until you depress that paddle switch. With the Festool, it's a lot simpler. There's just a button on the front, press it on, press it off. That's it. So with the Festool, I can turn the sander on and hold it like this and sand for a while. Then I can grab it back here and sand for a while. I can hold it however I want, and it's going to keep sanding. With the 3M sander, if you let go of that paddle switch, it's going to stop sanding. So you're kind of stuck holding the sander in a manner that depresses that paddle. I didn't really like the idea of being limited in the ways I can hold the sander, and I just like the simplicity of an on-off switch. It's what I'm used to, so I just like it better. The next thing I looked into was the speed control for each sander. Let's take a look at the 3M first. As you can see here, the speed control is right on top of the sander behind the power button. So you have one button with a plus, one with a minus, and obviously you push the plus to make the sander go faster, and you push the minus to make it go slower. And as you do that, that LED light bar will get longer or shorter in relation to the speed of the sander. While I'm sure this system works fine, I read several reviews that described it as clunky or cumbersome. The biggest complaint was you had to click those buttons each time you wanted to change the speed of the sander. So if you were sanding on the low speed and you wanted to go to high, you had to click that button 4, 5, 6 times or whatever, instead of just holding it in and having the sander ramp up in speed. Now contrast that with the Festool speed control, which is just a simple dial. You scroll back and forth to control the speed. It's simple, quick, and easy. The last thing I like about the Festool that the 3M doesn't have is the removable power cord. I think it makes the tool easier to store, and if the power cord gets damaged, it's really easy just to replace it with a new one. So that was another box ticked for the Festool. One thing on the 3M that I did like better than the Festool was the dust hose connection. Festool has this proprietary dust collection connector on it that fits their hoses that they of course want you to buy, but it doesn't really fit anything else. The 3M sander just has a simple round connector that can easily be adapted to any hose or dust collection system. So if you don't have any Festool hoses and you don't want to buy one, what do? Well, luckily they thought of that and they make this adapter. It's made out of plastic and rubber, and one end connects to the tool and the other end is just a simple round connector that can be adapted to your own dust hose. The other option is this Dust Right hose kit from Rockler. I normally use this on my track saw, but I pulled it out and tried it on the sander. And what do you know? Like a glove. Fits perfect. I really wish I would have tried this hose out before I bought this. This Festool adapter cost me about $35, and for just $15 more, you can get this Dust Right hose with 3 different size adapters. This hose collapses down to about 4 feet long, which makes it really easy to store, but while you're using it, it stretches out to about 15 feet long. So considering this costs just $15 more than this, I think that's a pretty good deal. And of course, I'll have links to all this stuff in the description below, so you can check those out and then decide what's going to work best for you. So this was no small purchase for me. I actually went back and forth looking at all the reviews, weighing all the options for about 2 or 3 weeks before I decided to pull the trigger on this sander. I just felt for me, the way I work, the way I want to use this tool, that the Festool, even though it was about $100 more than what I could have got the 3M sander for, was the one for me. So I'm going to plug it in and fire it up, and I really want to compare it to my old DeWalt sander. I want to see what the noise difference is and the vibration difference when I hold them both in my hand. So it comes in this box that Festool calls a sustainer. I don't know if I'll keep it in this box. I'll have to see where I want to store it and how I want to store it. But it's pretty simple. You get some paperwork, you get a little owner's manual, you get a warranty card, just your typical stuff that comes with any tool. And then of course you get the cord, you get the sander. It comes with an Allen wrench, and that's used to change the sanding pad. And it also comes with one piece of 80 grit sandpaper. All right, now for a super scientific test, I'm gonna run each sander just to give you an idea of the noise level of each one. All right, here's the DeWalt. That's pretty loud. I would wear hearing protection with this sander even if I didn't have my dust collector going. And notice how long it took the pad to stop moving, and compare that to the Festool. So the DeWalt was set on its highest speed. Now I'll run the Festool on its highest speed. Here we go. So I like how quickly the sanding pad stops. I can turn this off and set it right down without the sander going all over the place. It's also much quieter than the DeWalt, and the vibration is reduced by a good 80-90%. I wanted to point out one more big advantage that this sander has over my DeWalt sander. This is the ETS EC150, which means it's a 6-inch sander while my DeWalt is a 5-inch sander. Now that 1 inch might not seem like a lot, but a 6-inch circle has about 30% more surface area than a 5-inch circle, which means this sander has 30% more surface area doing the work for you, so you're going to get your sanding done a lot quicker. Alright, I'm anxious to put this thing to use. I'm going to sand up these drawer fronts and get them ready for finish. Like I said, the sander came with an 80 grit disc, but this wood is already pretty smooth, so this is a little aggressive for it. So I have some 6-inch Cubitron 2 discs, which is my new favorite sandpaper. I'm going to put a 180 grit on this, and I think that should be fine. What I like about these Cubitron discs is not only do they cut really well for a long time, but the grit is applied to this mesh, which allows for really good dust extraction. And there's no holes to line up when you're putting it on your sander. Nothing left to do except turn the air on and see how the sander performs. Alright, that was obviously a really small sanding project. I just did 4 of these drawer fronts, front and back and all the edges. It was quick, it was smooth, it was so much more pleasant than using that DeWalt sander. I can't even tell you how much better this thing was. So if you're in the market for a new random orbit sander and you want to go high end and you have the budget, take a hard look at the Festool ETS EC150. You won't be disappointed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out. Thanks for watching.